Hey everybody, it's Rykard here again, bringing you the next black and white Pokemon analysis for your viewing pleasure. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the scoundrel Pokemon known as Zuruzukin. So let's get started by viewing its typing, abilities, and stats. So first off, this Pokemon is a dark fighting type, which is actually really interesting typing and allows this Pokemon to be immune to Psychic, resist Ghost and Rock, and quad resist Dark type attacks. The only types that can hit you for super effective damage are Flying and Fighting. So that's really cool typing and really gives you a lot of options when being on the field, since you don't really have to worry so much about the type of moves your opponent has because there's really not much you are weak to. As for the abilities, the first one it gets is Shed Skin, which is an amazing ability to have. And what it does is it allows you to rid yourself of whatever status you have at the end of a turn, and there's a 30% chance for this to occur. For example, if your opponent uses Toxic on you, at the end of the turn, there's a chance that the Toxic will be removed because you're going to shed your skin and therefore be cured of it. And this works with every other status, like paralysis and burn and sleep, and etc. Yes. The next ability is known as Overconfidence, which is a really cool new ability that allows your attack to be increased by one stage every time you KO a Pokemon. So this is a great move to have if you're going to be running a physical set with Zuruzukin, because after every KO you get, your attack goes up by one stage, thus making you even more powerful and able to take out the next opponent that comes in. As for the last ability, which it gets in the Dream World, it is known as Intimidate, and it's a pretty useful ability that allows this Pokemon to lower its opponent's attack stat by one stage when it switches in. And this is great, especially if you're going to be trying to run a defensively based set, because this can make this Pokemon obviously last longer in battle if your opponent has a -1 attack. But as for the stats, the first stat you will see is HP, which is an unfortunate 65, because really that isn't a lot. But if you look at the defenses, which are 115 apiece, this 65 will essentially be being used to its fullest potential to an extent. Because having base defenses that are over 230 is absolutely ridiculous, and this Pokemon will be very capable of walling a variety of different Pokemon because of how high these defensive stats are. As for the next stats, the attacking stats, this Pokemon gets 90 attack, which is actually a really good attack to be using with these high defenses. So it definitely makes Zuruzukin a very capable physical attacker as well. Unfortunately, its special attack is only at 45, so chances are you will not be running a special set with this Pokemon. And lastly, its speed is at only 58, but that doesn't mean that this Pokemon is essentially incredibly slow, because it is fortunate enough to get Dragon Dance as an egg move, which you will see later in one of the sets. But with that, let's take a look at the first one. So this first set is kind of like a mixed wall / physical attacker. So first we're going to give it a careful nature to increase its special defense but decrease its special attack. And then we're going to be using the ability Shed Skin. As for the EVs, we're going to put 252 EVs into HP to max out your HP, 252 EVs into special defense to max out that set as well, and then 4 EVs into speed. And the reason for the 4 EVs into speed is because yesterday I realized something really important, and it was the fact that a lot of times you will see one Pokemon going up against the same Pokemon on your opponent's team. And if you're running the same EVs, there's going to be a speed tie regardless of what happens. So if you put that extra 4 EVs into speed instead of into something like attack, you're actually getting a huge advantage on your opponent by being able to do what you do better than they can and faster. So that's the reasoning for that, and that's going to be like a new philosophy with me. But as for the item, we're going to be using Leftovers to increase your health a little bit at the end of every turn. As for the moveset, since we are max specially defensive bulky, we're going to be using the move Bulk Up to not only increase our attack, but decrease our physical defense as well, making this Pokemon extremely hard to take down from either the physical or special end. And since we are still quite slow, we're going to be using the move Payback because it's a good stab dark type move that this Pokemon can learn, and it will most always be at 100 power because of how low your speed is. And these two moves just kind of remind me of Umbreon a little bit because of like the curse payback set that usually happens. Um, but after the next move, it's going to be essentially a fighting type move of your choice. Drain Punch is useful in the sense that it'll help you recover HP at the end of, or after you use it, but with the next move, Rest, it's kind of not necessary to need to recover HP as you're attacking, seeing as Rest will obviously heal you up all the way, and with Shed Skin being your ability, you have a chance to be rid of the rest right away and not even have to worry about it. But another move that would work great would be High Jump Kick, which is what the HJK stands for, because that is obviously one of the most powerful fighting type moves that this Pokemon learns as well. The only side effect is the chance that you'll miss and hit yourself for half of your health to go down, which is unfortunate. But if you want a move that's more accurate than that and still has the power of Drain Punch, Brick Break would also be a great option because it has more PP than both of those moves and you can use it more because of that fact. As for this next set, it is again a mixed wall, but it is also a phasing and status inducing set. So this time we're going to give Zuruzukin an Impish Nature to increase its defense but decrease its special attack. As for the ability, again, we're going to be using Shed Skin. And for the EVs, 252 each HP EVs, 252 physical defense EVs this time, and then 4 for speed again. And item leftovers. As for the moves this time, we're going to be using Amnesia to increase your special defense by 2 stages with every use. And this is, I guess, the bulk up of this set because since you're physically defensive with your EVs and nature, you're going to be specially defensive after 1 Amnesia, and very specially defensive. You'll have like 460 special defense after one of these. But as for the next move, we're going to be using Dragon Tail, because since you are going to be so ridiculously bulky, at least in my opinion, Dragon Tail is a great move because it's a phasing move that will switch your opponents in and out and make this Pokemon very difficult to handle, because every time your opponent wants to switch in for a counter, you can just Dragon Tail it out. Just be careful though, because Dragon Tail does not phase Pokemon that have subs. It only deals damage to the sub. So if you accidentally switch them out to a Pokemon that has sub and is probably going to be faster than you, trying to consistently use Dragon Tail against it probably isn't the best option. But as for the next move, since we aren't using Rest, we're going to be using Drain Punch for sure this time so that we can recover HP and obviously deal physical damage at the same time. And then last, we're going to be using Toxic to wear down your opponent. Compared to the first set, this one is significantly more defensive, at least in my opinion, because it allows you to obviously switch out your opponent's counter to Zuruzukin, and also you can increase your special defense a lot faster than you can increase your physical defense in the first set. So this one is a little bit different, but still works like the same way in terms of being a defensive Pokemon that will not want to die. As for this last set, it is going to be a pure attacking set for Zuruzukin. So first we're going to give it a Jolly Nature to increase its speed and lower its special attack, and then we're going to be using the ability Overconfidence this time so that your attack will be boosted every time you KO an opponent, which hopefully you'll be doing a lot of. But as for the EVs, we're going to put 128 into HP to still give you a decent number for HP, because this Pokemon doesn't have a lot of HP as you saw before, so this will at least bring it up to a decent level. And even though we're not putting any EVs into defenses, their base stat, which as I said before is over 230, will allow you to still take a hit or two, or more than a hit or two, I guess, when you're trying to set up offensively. But as for those offensive stats, we're going to put 128 into attack, and the reason we're not maxing this out is because Overconfidence and one of the moves in the set, Dragon Dance, will be sufficient enough for your attack increases. As for the last EVs, we're going to put 252 into speed so that you have your max speed with the Jolly Nature. The item this time is going to be a Lumberry because we aren't using the ability Shed Skin, and because Paralysis and Burn significantly cripple physical attackers or physical sweepers, to an extent, which this Pokemon is essentially going to try and become. So Lumberry is great because it'll allow you to obviously rid yourself of a status as soon as it happens. As for the moveset, as I said before, we're going to be using Dragon Dance to increase your attack and speed by 1 stage with each usage. And since your HP with the 128 EVs and your natural high defenses is in place, chances are you're going to be getting at least 2 Dragon Dances up. At least I hope so, because of how naturally bulky you are. But as for the attacking moves, the first one we're going to be using is High Jump Kick, just because it's the most powerful fighting type move that this Pokemon learns, so it means that it'll be doing plenty of damage and be able to take out whatever it needs to. Also with this set, we're going to be using Dragon Claw just for the coverage that you get with it, because obviously Dragon is only resisted by Steel, and High Jump Kick is super effective against Steel. So you get that kind of thing going on right there, where essentially nothing can resist your attack moves. And also for a Pokemon like Skarmory or something like that, which is a flying Steel type, we're going to have Fire Punch there to get rid of that and not have it wall you to hell, because obviously that Pokemon is known for being a very good defensive wall. So you'll have this fire move to use against it, and also obviously Steel types are very common in OU, or at least in the previous generation's OU, so having a fire move is really good to have. But the 3 moves or attacking moves in the set give you essentially unresisted coverage, so it works out really well with Zuruzukin and with the Dragon Dances to increase your speed. Obviously you'll be really fast and really powerful, and hopefully be able to just tear through teams because of a set like this. But that's pretty much it for Zuruzukin. Just to let you know, when I first saw this Pokemon, I immediately considered it to be my favorite of this generation because I like, defensive Pokemon, as you might have noticed in previous videos, and it just looks awesome to me. But yeah, that's my opinion. I want to know what you guys think though, so let me know in the comments, and I will see you in my next video. So take care and goodbye.